Hello, and welcome to the Legal Growth Podcast, where we dive into the strategies, challenges, and success stories shaping the future of law firms. I'm your host, Aaron Fulk, and together with Legal Growth Partners, we'll bring you in-depth conversations with top legal professionals, industry innovators, and firm leaders. Our goal is simple: share practical insights, innovative strategies, and real-world advice to help your law firm or your law career scale, adapt, and thrive. Whether you're navigating growth challenges or looking to boost your business development, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. This week, our guest is Monica. Can you say your full name?
There's a lot of vowels in there. Yeah, it's Ayala Talavera.
Well, and it sounds so good when you say it, but I just know that I didn't practice enough to say it, so I appreciate that. And I don't know if you caught me when I was reading it. I kept saying law firm, but you're actually in-house. And so I wanted to make sure that we get into some of those questions too. Because you're not running a firm, but you're in-house, which I think is so fun. So I want to get all those perspectives. All right, let's do this. Give me a quick overview of how you chose to get into law and your specialty.
Of course, Aaron, and thank you for having me. Just before I get into this, I just wanted to say that all of the opinions that I express are my own. They don't represent my or express the views of my employer. So, just had to put that out there because I am a lawyer. So diving back into the question, I've always worked at the intersection of technology and the people that those tech tools impact, right? So I started as a journalist where I could reach people, but it was always about something that had already happened. And then I moved into public policy research where I was finding out a lot of really interesting and useful stuff, but I didn't have that audience that I used to have when I was a journalist. And the advocacy work was really, really difficult if you didn't know the law. So instead of feeling like I was always one step behind where the decisions were being made, I decided to go study the law. And then the next natural step was to go in-house where these tech tools were being made.
So you went and had a couple careers and then decided to go back to law school.
Yes. Yeah. This is my third career, which is pretty rare for lawyers. There's a lot of, it's called like K through JD, like folks that want to be a lawyer their whole life, but it came to me a little bit later.
What was it like going back to school at that point?
It was great. I loved school. It was also very interesting because the law or the way that law school is taught here in the US, you do draw a lot from like your lived experience, and people that have a little bit more of that tend to have an easier time looking at all of the different perspectives, which is, it's just fascinating.
It sounds like you're kind of an overachiever, but we've had a few people that came back. They usually went a little bit later than you did, right? Like maybe 20 years, 30 years afterwards. But we've had 2 or 3 people that came on here and they went to law school after 40. But they also say they're just so more focused on their studies and their GPAs and everything are so much higher. Did you kind of feel yourself really understanding the value of that the second time around more than the first, even though I'm sure you still were such an overachiever in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, thank you. But yes, I do feel like I treated it more like a job, which is, I think I would have gotten a lot more out of my previous degrees if I had been a little bit more serious. But you know what? It's nice to have fun too.
Wait, you said your previous degree. So had you already done some other?
My undergrad my bachelor's is journalism. Okay. So, it's actually called like a bachelor's of journalism, which is pretty strange. Bachelor's of arts. And then I have a master's from Lund University. It's international development and public policy. And then I have a master's from Stanford University that's also focused on public policy.
Amazing. That is very impressive. So you're like, law school, I got this.
No worries. Yeah, but it's totally different. It's like a totally different ballgame. So you have to learn how to study all over again. I think that was a big benefit or a leg up that some of my younger classmates had because they were just a lot more adaptable.
Do you feel like you were as nervous to take the bar though, since you had already accomplished so many things?
Yes, the bar is a different beast. It's like 2 hours. You're in this huge like convention center and everybody around you is just sitting on these like picnic style tables. And like every good lawyer, I am very anxious. So I don't think I ate that entire summer. Like my friends like forced me to eat and I was like, no, I have to stay here. So I was pretty glad when it was over.
I like that. Well, I can see all those degrees behind you now. So I'm like, you got this. It made a great background. All right. So every attorney seems to have a memorable first case. Can you share something that was either surprising, funny, memorable whenever you first started practicing law?
I think, let's see, I think the most interesting part for me, because I went straight in-house. So this isn't a typical path. Usually when you finish law school, you'll go into a firm. The biggest joke amongst lawyers is that law school doesn't actually teach you how to be a lawyer. It teaches you how to think. And so you spend the first 2 years sort of like learning what it is in your area of law that will give you that subject matter expertise. But when you go straight in-house, you just kind of hit the ground running from day one. So you get your clients, these are your internal clients. For me, because I'm a product attorney, they're also called brand attorneys, brand counsel, product counsel. I mostly work with engineers. So day to day, I'm just embedded with my product teams, the folks that are actually developing this software. And, we go through every phase of development together. And it was sort of like a sink or swim moment. And I remember being very nervous, my very first client, one-on-one, just me and the engineers. And at the end of it, they were like, oh, it's really nice to talk to a lawyer that makes jokes. And I was like, I don't even remember what jokes I made. So I guess that was surprising, how nice and easy it was to sort of integrate seamlessly into these teams, even though you're the only non-engineer in the room, right? You're the only non-technical person there. And it can be quite intimidating, but it's been a good learning experience for sure.
You don't need to tell us any sort of anything detail wise, but do you ever get presented a product that you need to figure out the legal and you're just like, why hasn't that been thought of before?
Yes, the question is yes every single time, right? I'm just like, talk to me like I'm in kindergarten and explain to me how this works. I think when I lost the fear of looking like I don't know what's going on, and started asking the quote unquote dumb questions is when I became a way better product attorney, because I was like, okay, so is this acting more like a bridge or like a seesaw, and they were like, well, I don't think that's a good analogy. And I was like, oh gosh. So it's been really helpful because having that technical knowledge, trust me, it's been a painful road to get here, but I do feel like I have a good baseline understanding of how the clients in my portfolio how their products work. And so now I know better questions to ask, right? I don't have to take the engineer's characterization of the product. I can say, but hey, wait, but didn't we say that this, cog interacted with this cog? So how is that going to impact the end user experience if we connect them? Because it doesn't seem to make sense to me.
I love that. I'm in marketing and I always say I'm only good at it because I know how to say things to a 10-year-old, right? Explain it to me like a 10-year-old. And once you figure that out, that's what really gets everything moving forward. So I love that you feel comfortable saying that. I think that's a huge win. What has been your biggest growth success story so far, across your career? Because you've had such an interesting path.
That's a great question. I think maybe learning how to use soft power is very important, right? Because in this, when you're working as an in-house attorney, you get this view of the company that you're working for that a lot of other folks in other departments don't get. They tend to be pretty siloed. And being able to say, oh, actually, this process would be really helped by so-and-so in this other department. But, you don't have any authority over them. You're not able to, I don't want to say the word force, but you can ask and they can say no, right? And so learning how to craft those soft skills, how to connect the dots, and how to just make your clients laugh on a bad day. If you're a lawyer and your client comes to you, that's probably because they have a big problem. Like you're seeing people on some of the worst days that they're having professionally, right? So being able to like lighten the mood so that they can think a little bit more clearly and be able to collaborate with you on coming up with a solution is pretty important. And that's not something that you really think about when you're going through law school or when you're going through any sort of outside work. You know, if you're a transactional attorney like me, litigators know this from day one. Yeah.
Well, I love that term soft powers. I love that. You don't hear that very often. So I really like that. But I think what I love even more is that as a non-attorney, I get to speak to a lot of attorneys throughout the week, but most of my friends are not attorneys and they don't speak to attorneys unless there is something that is happening, right? Something that they have to call into attorney. And sometimes I think that there are a lot of attorneys that forget how scary it is to talk to an attorney. You're already emotional. It doesn't matter if it's a transactional or a divorce, right? Like something's going on if you have to speak to an attorney for a business reason. And I love that you have the empathy to realize that.
Well, one of my like favorite things to say at the end of a call is like, oh, hope I talk to you soon. And they're like, I hope not.
Exactly. Oh, but that's I wonder if you had gone straight, have you ever thought about this? If you had gone straight to law school, like if your path had just been like this, do you think that you would have that realization and that empathy for what it feels like to go talk to an attorney if you just straight become an attorney?
Not at all. And I actually don't think that I would, if I knew then what I know now, I don't know if I would have gone straight in-house because it is very much like sink or swim. And it's really scary, but I made it through. I don't know if I would do it all over again.
Have you had a couple in-house jobs?
This is my first one. I've been out of school.
Well, you went big.
4 years. Yeah.
Okay. So you've been there 4 years and that was your first one.
That's right.
And they can go look it up. We won't say it on the podcast. They can go look you up, but you went very big too for in-house. So I think to be fair, you did really go sink or swim.
Thank you.
Really,
this is like the reason that I went into tech was because I was seeing the writing on the wall, right? Like before we had a lot of AI products that were coming out. And then the year that I started working, Gen AI came out. And so, Gen AI has been something that's been cooking on the back burner for a while now, but I mean, it became commercially viable. And so you hear a lot of firms wanting to hire not just lawyers, but like engineers or like other people that have 20 plus years experience in Gen AI. And it's like, well, it's not even that old. Right. So I am, even though I'm a younger attorney, I'm just as senior as anyone else that's working in this field. And it's pretty cool. Like I can say that I was there when the sausage was being made and I can follow along all of the developments that are happening, with my teams. Like I'm suffering the way my engineers are suffering. Yep. So.
Well, and it's a space where it could bring you back full circle to that policy space, right? Because there's so many laws that are just now even being talked about. Like, wait a minute, what do we need to do with that? And you will be one of those top experts.
It's really great to be able to have like a team working with you too, where you're not the only one that has to keep an eye out on the regulation that's coming down the pipeline, because there's regulation everywhere. So you could keep up with maybe your own home jurisdiction, federal, then there's like states, even that is a lot, but there's also like, Europe and India and China and Brazil, like there's stuff coming down the pipeline all over the place. To be able to grab that, quickly translate it into something that an engineer can implement so that they can prepare for this now instead of having to course correct later is really, really useful. I mean, it's also just very cost efficient. Imagine having to recall a product because it's no longer considered legal in the EU or something, right? That would be catastrophic for a firm.
It is tricky in the tech space because you do have to worry about like everywhere, not just in the space that you're at. So that's interesting. We had someone on the podcast when we first started, and he was one of the first attorneys in that when cannabis became legal. And so now his job has pretty much been to go speak about the law in that space. But so that could be you one day. You could be speaking because you're at the forefront of this. That's
That's
wild.
pretty cool. That really was the Wild West, the cannabis industry.
But I think AI is too, because in the marketing industry, right? We've seen it. I want to say one of the biggest hits. Seen it because people just don't know how to use it. And now that I speak to attorneys so much, I mean, people are just writing their own contracts. And so like business attorneys are having to go back. So I see a whole bunch of laws switching with it. But then when you're talking about the tech space, takes it times 10. So I think that, yeah, you're going to be the thought leader of thought leaders in 5 years in this space.
Thanks, Aaron. That's so sweet. But you really do have your finger on the pulse. Like right now, what we're talking about within firms and with our customers is about use case specific scenarios, right? Like, okay, we have these incredible models. We can do a whole bunch of stuff with them, but how do we sort of perfect them or stream them for specific use cases? Because it doesn't need to be a huge model if we're just going to be doing data processing for a regulated industry, right? And then maybe we can put in some guardrails over here that we don't need for another client so that they can get a little bit more expansive use from the model underlying it. These are like really, to me, they're really interesting conversations that we're having with our clients because we're getting actually educated by them. Like they're coming to the table and telling us what they need.
Right. I love that. And I love how you say focus on the one thing, because I feel like every tech stack out there, right? Well, not even tech stack, every piece of tech right now is trying to do all the things because they're all doing all the things, right? And so like some of them are kind of losing the plot on why you use them. And so they need to listen to you. Go follow Monica because she's got and you said say that word again. Soft powers. You said that. Yeah, soft powers. And I love that. That makes me just kind of think of life in general, right? Everyone says the best marriages are when you know how to convince your partner, how to do what you want through your convincing. So I'm going to ask you another question, but it could be the same answer, but give us another answer too, because it sounds like you're really good at that. But what would you say is your favorite, like the thing that is your favorite non-legal skill that has helped you with your legal or with your growth in your career?
This is going to sound funny, but I come from a family of engineers, and so I know how to talk to engineers. I think a big part of my job is one, understanding the tech so that I can ask questions, like the questions that I need to know. I need to know what questions to ask, so I need to understand the tech to understand that.
Yeah.
And then two is understanding how engineers think, because it's a totally different way than how me or other lawyers think. And so if I ask a question about, let's just say, a new feature that's coming out, and they tell me how the feature works, that's totally different than how does the feature interact with the underlying model, what kind of data is it processing, like how does the experience actually look like to the end user. And so you kind of have to learn how to lead the questioning so that we both know what it is that we're actually trying to say to each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I mean, so that skill would essentially be being able to look at it from all different points of view and kind of being like a chameleon to talk the talk with whoever you're with.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, actually, Aaron, because you'd have to put on not just, your lawyer hat, your engineering hat in order to have a successful conversation, but your regulator hat, like how is this going to be viewed from the outside? And then, of course, at the end of the day, we're a company that's trying to serve our customers, right? So your client hat, like, is this actually something that they want and need? Is this something that's going to make their life easier?
Right. I love the last one, because I do think, especially in that tech space, and I don't know if it's as much now, but I'm almost 47 years old. So it was for a while in the middle, like you had all the new software, and then you had a bunch of people coming up with software that no one really wanted, right? Like they forgot to talk to the clients. They just realized they could make it.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really great about how the tech space has sort of developed now, because all of that is being done out of research labs. So we have like academia research labs, or even companies will have their own research labs, and they get to have all the fun. I'm telling you that. Like you walk over there and they are just kind of like shooting darts at the wall, seeing what's
That's fun.
Yeah.
That does sound like a fun job. Just really quick question, and then we'll get to the last one. You said you come from a family full of engineers. You've had a few different careers. Did you ever consider becoming an engineer?
Never. I'm also an immigrant, so all of the other immigrants out there will share this memory of just being like at the kitchen table with your dad, close to midnight, and he's yelling math at you, and you're like, stop. It's like, I don't understand this algebra equation.
That's when you were done.
After a few nights at the kitchen table with my dad trying to like explain math to me, I was like, you know what? Let's go be a journalist, like the least math possible, but actually turned out not at all true.
That everything's kind of math, and kind of now you can have help with the math. So
yeah, that is so beautiful. Everything is math. You're so right.
Well, and I am not an immigrant, and so I don't have that same experience, but I have never even heard that, because you said everybody can relate to this. So that's very interesting. In my house, we co-parent, and I'm so bad at math that my daughter's right at that age where it's hard for no reason. And so we FaceTime dad. There's no yelling, but that's interesting.
That makes sense.
That shared experience. I'm just like, I'm out on this. I'll help you with the essays. Grab your book. I'm done with this. So amazing. Okay, so last question, and I think you're going to give us one of the most fascinating answers for this. No pressure. But looking ahead, what trends or changes do you see shaping the future of law? And how are you, like, in the position you're in now, what are you doing to position the legal field for that?
That's a good question. It's so hard to say, right? Because this is a really fast moving industry. Like what was true when I started like 4 years ago is just not true now. What was true even like 6 months ago is already outdated. And so I think what we're moving towards is very like, well, let me rephrase that for myself. I think what I've seen on the inside, on the in-house counsel side, is that we're doing a lot of the legwork before it goes to GA, general availability, before it goes to market. But there is a big gap right now in needs for customers after they've already signed the contract, after they're already working with the software, or the SaaS or whatever it may be, where they're turning to other law firms, right, to get some help on that, because we're not their lawyers, right? At the end of the day, we're a company, so they're turning to law firms. A lot of like the mid-sized firms are coming in to help, and they just lack that technical expertise. So they're spending a lot, our customers, the companies that buy from us, they're spending a lot of money on the in-house counsel explaining to them how the tech works, and that's not it's not fun for anyone, right? Like to have to level set for maybe a few meetings before we can actually get to the crux of what it is that we're trying to solve for together. And so I think what I'm seeing in the future is that those firms that invest in that knowledge base now are going to have a huge leg up, because there is a delta in the market for that. And I guess the other thing that I'm sort of keeping my eye on right now that's maybe impacting my sleeping pattern is the EU AI Act. And so, in very general terms, it's just assigning like risk tiers to certain softwares or certain, I should say, Gen AI tools and those their uses. So it could be, a certain tool could be low risk in one use case and then high risk in another. And it's just, it's kind of a nightmare to try to control for that a priori, right? So this is another delta where these mid-sized firms could really benefit from getting that technical expertise and then trying to help their customers wade through that, because I believe it's coming into effect this August. So it's, so like in a few days.
So do you think it would make sense for like a mid-sized firm to have just bring in one technical attorney that sits on all of that, or for most of their team to start to, do CLEs and that type of stuff in that space?
I think it would be useful for like most of the team to have most of the, tech transactions team to have that. But what I have been seeing in big law firms is that they're starting with that one person, and that's to build that out for the rest of the firm.
That makes sense. They probably come from an in-house or something, right? Because you would think that tech person they probably have, like you said, new experience, because it's also new, that they're probably coming. That's interesting. Okay, we could talk about this all day.
It's fascinating because for like decades, right, the flow of career has been from law firm to in-house, and now we're kind of seeing a little bit of the opposite.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting. I've always thought it was really interesting how, like, versus med school, you pick your specialty, and then, law, you just kind of fall into it. And I almost wonder if we'll start to see a little shift in that too, if it becomes such a technical position. Like, you can't just know the law, you need to know the technical space too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I could, I guess, to circle back to one of your questions, if I could go back and study at least a little bit of engineering, I think it would have been a much easier, the first year of my career would have been a lot easier.
That college math, though, they make that hard for no reason. So
I know.
For no reason. They're just trying to filter people out. So
I agree.
This is a fun fact, and we'll just tell the listeners, because we went to rival colleges. So we were kind of talking about that. But KU, where I went, Monica went to Mizzou, but KU actually dropped the math requirement for the School of Journalism because they lost so many people. So in the past 10 years, they've dropped that.
Wow.
So I don't know if you would have, if you should have. It probably would have took you down a different path.
Yeah, that's true.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was fascinating. So is the best place if people want to follow you and your thoughts and insights LinkedIn?
Yes, please. And thank you so much for having me, Aaron. This has been such a fun time.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us on the Legal Growth Podcast presented by Legal Growth Partners. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, drop us a review, share it with your colleagues, because great insights are even better when shared. For more tips and tools to help grow your practice, visit legalgrowthpartners.com. Until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, and keep smiling. Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.